Okay, Array Tarot. I am done talking for today. I don't want to talk anymore, but I said, you know what? If I don't do this video is not going to get done. And this has been my life for the past 5 years with y'all. So I'm going to try. So just know that it is taking the most out of me, okay? So this is what you got going on. There is some energy, and this feels like a collective energy that is coming into your reality of you feeling like, yeah, like you've been wronged. What this is it could be a person, but I'm going to tell you what is coming up for me. Systemic infrastructures and institutions. You're looking at it and you're like, the gas, shouldn't be this high. The rent shouldn't be this high. The groceries shouldn't be this high. You feel like the system, we'll call it the system. I got the carb right in my face. You feel like the system is working against you and you're finally seeing it and you're not wrong. Now, first things first is you shouldn't turn on everybody, because I see that everybody's just turning on everybody. Anybody that they feel like is different than them. Look, we in this all together. Even if you feel like there are people who are different than you, we're all workers. Some make more, some make less. They try to use us all up. So just know that that's the case. Okay, that's number one. Number two, we got to come together. And we don't got to come together following behind somebody because, whatever. But we just have to come together on an individual level. We got to treat each other with love and kindness of humanity, because that's the only way we're going to survive this insanity. Look around. What you do with your money, how you feel about yourself, it all matters. This is how you free yourself from whatever this thing is that's coming up. This kind of, I'm calling it just systemic stuff. That's how you free yourself from it. You look at the people around you and you have grace and compassion. You have grace and compassion for yourself, and you make different changes. They want us to be on social media all day, consuming, dopamine, getting overwhelmed. We're primed. Now we see the commercial and now we want to buy stuff. Okay. So they're using us like that. They're also having all this information about how, hey, nothing is working out. All these years they was telling us to do A, B, and C, and now none of it works out anymore. And everyone's being left behind. That's why things are so expensive. No, they're just siphoning the energy and siphoning the wealth off and trying to convince everyone to continue to maintain and uphold the system and the structure. And it's not going to work because everyone sees it. Nobody likes AI. Okay. You might use AI in your search or whatever you want to do, but like if the choice came to it, which was get rid of AI and everyone can work reasonably and afford their life, I think people would do it. And also it impacts and affects people who are younger, just you in general. People are losing hope. They're becoming more delusional. When I was younger, it was like delusional to think that you're going to grow up and be a movie star or you're going to grow up and be rich and famous. Now, that's not even it. That's actually reasonable, to a reasonable delusion. Now people are just like, I want to be a billionaire. How you going to be a billionaire without systemically oppressing a group of people in order to get it? That's how the money, they don't even see it. They get on the gambling, sports gambling, poly. I've been talking about the poly market. They betting on everything, and most people are losing. The rates of people declaring bankruptcy in those areas that allow different types of gambling to become more and more illegal. Oh, I guess I'm talking today. I thought I wasn't going to be talking today. I'm talking today. Those places that allow, for gambling is increasing. But the delusion is people are more and more desperate. They're lacking the wisdom. Why are they lacking the wisdom? Because they lack hope. Why are they lacking the hope? Because all the information and how the current systemic infrastructure is coming to them, and they're believing that this is the only way I can get there. There is no rational way from you, whether you have, money or you don't have money, or let's say a comfortable living, because shoot, money used to be different. Now balling is the bare minimum, I guess. But say that you're coming from that position, it's unlikely that you'll be a billionaire. And these people don't even just want, the people who are delusional, they don't just want 1 billion, they want like 50. They got there because someone had to be taken advantage of, underpaid. All of these record profits from all of these different companies, but yet no livable wages. The wages are stagnant. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And that's what, or this one, and that's what you're feeling here. You're not buying into it. Good news, okay? So it's not all about just like, because I don't like that. I don't like when I see like, I like when people call it like it is and they're like, yeah, it's messed up. And then everyone's just angry and pissed off and then they don't do anything. No, the good news is this. You're actually able to go in a new direction. You're actually able to chart a new path. In order for a system to work, people have to buy into them. Okay, let me go on my rant. It's the only way I can talk. Okay, we have different civilizations throughout time. I'm going to use Egypt. I'm not going to go into any specific like dynasty, but I'm just going to say Egypt. Okay, during that time, Egypt had a civilization. A civilization means that in human history, there's like walled cities and people have specialized jobs. And prior to the civilization, people could live communally, but maybe they focused on kind of the basic needs, which was still worried about how do you get food on a daily basis. They may or may not have been growing agriculture, but maybe they followed the seasons if they lived in a region of seasons, or they followed perhaps different herds, or, if they were kind of in one place, they worked in that kind of way. So that's how we look at the civilizations. They were these huge walled cities for the first time where people weren't just worried about where is my next meal coming from. They had special roles. This person was a brickmaker. This person was a carpenter. This person was and that's new. Prior to that, people had to know how to do everything. So they were able to specialize. With that being said, and you can look actually as well at the Roman Empire too. In many empires of those times, I'm conflating two different things, but like look at different empires. What did they have to do? What ended up happening is when they had those infrastructures, they were able to use everyone's labor to create value. That means there were people at the top who had a lot. So when you think of Egypt, you think of the pharaoh, but also what you're really thinking of is the priestly class, because those were the people who really controlled the pharaohs. Like the pharaohs were more like figureheads, but then like the priests were the ones who controlled everything. In the Roman Empire, it was families. It was these like oligarchical, impactful families that were at the top. So that meant that it concentrated wealth. So even when jumping to the Roman Empire, even when Rome started to, or the Roman Empire started to fail, those cities that had been so insulated by the financial, by the money that had been coming in, they didn't think it was real. They didn't think that things would not work out for them because they still had all this money coming in. They don't know how to lay a brick. They had gotten so used to these specialized roles and them being insulated. With that being said, what did they do? They double, triple down, and that's how eventually everything fell apart, because you cannot sustain that without everything else working. That means people have to consent to be a part of that, and exploitation is a part of that. How did they expand back in the day? They just went and pillaged another place. That's really what ended up happening. And people had to stay in their roles. I talked about this last week, maybe, or the week before, where if you look at India, who had a hierarchy, had the caste system, or you could look at Korea that had the longest unbroken chain of slavery. These are things that societies have done in order to stabilize their economy. So there's always going to be a permanent underclass that doesn't that's not able to live at a dignified way. Now, I'm not an expert on the caste system, and I'm not an expert on the Korean slavery system, so I cannot speak to how the day-to-day things went, and how that is and how things differ. But when you look at it at modern times, look, I'm speaking today. If you look at it at modern times, what happens is you can see in different parts of the world people being taken advantage of. You see it happening in China. People having to work the 996 where they're always working. People having these different degrees and they have to be a food delivery person. Not because that's what they desire to be or that is the best paying job, but it is the only job that they can get. And then you also see it if you look at, places like or areas within Africa or Africa in general, where it is so mineral rich. And if those various countries had access to be able to sell their own minerals for our phones and all this stuff, the most important things that we're using for our everyday life, they would be very rich. But there's a lot of meddling from East Asia, America, Europe, I could say the Middle East as well, to be able to control the resources of people and suppress the people. So then it keeps them at a certain financial state or financial area. And then if you look in the US, we have the prison pipeline. So why is that important? And it also has a lot to do with everything that has been going on with wanting to detain people in order to get them to work. It is important because when people are imprisoned, where you have to work for money, but the money is like 10 cents or 15 cents or something like that an hour. So with that being said, there is an economic opportunity to make sure that people are not revitalized, to make sure that people do not leave that system. And then it also begins to show up in the judicial system where people begin to be criminalized just from their money, like not having money, or who they are racially, or who they are gender wise, or all of these things, in order to uphold a current societal infrastructure in the US that doesn't even support the majority of people anymore. At one time it did. That's how slavery existed in the US. Now there were still poor white people, but it was often presented to them in a way of like, well, you're not this. Just know that you'll always be a step above. And instead of coming together, which they actually used to do, they used to come together. Everyone would come together in order to be like, y'all need to treat us better. People participated and perpetuated the system that did not even work for them. And I talked about this two weeks ago, or maybe the don't celebrate the oppression of others, where people, will vote their rights away. And so Americans specifically have a lot of power in the vote, regardless of if someone doesn't feel like voting works out and that everything is rigged on a federal level. That's fine. But it doesn't change that the American vote is one of, if not the strongest vote in the world, because the US is like the military capital of the world. So all these wars we see, that weaponry starts in the US. So what we allow our tax dollars to fund impacts the rest of the world. But people are so overwhelmed by information. They don't know what they should be voting on. They don't know how they can be pressing people and their representatives to change. And also they don't have the time. They're overwhelmed just trying to survive, okay? With all of that being said, you do not have to participate in the infrastructure. You do not need to believe that this is all that there is for you, okay? So you don't have to do the doom spending, the doom scrolling. You don't have to believe that just because life didn't turn out the way that was promised to you, you did everything right, that it was promised to you that there's something wrong with you. Because when people feel low in their energy and they feel stuck, they just stay in the situation and they complain. No. What the situation you're in today, and you could be doing well. I'm not trying to say, doom and gloom, but I'm just saying the situation that may be going on around um, doesn't have to be defining. Civilizations come and go. The people will always be there. People exist. So back to my original point, when, those different civilizations started to fall, the people who weren't a part of them, they just went about their business. They were also able to outcompete a lot of this stuff that was going on. And the people who were in them went to join them. They were also able to scavenge and pillage. Okay, so what does that mean? That means in our everyday lives, we have a bunch of companies, these huge companies that are just big for no reason. And then they go and they buy other companies, okay? And they bankrupt the companies they'll go and buy, case in point, you look at all, let me get into it. Case in point, you'll look at all what happened to nursing homes. Private equity came, bought the nursing homes up, and the nursing homes at those times had the property that they were on. They had good value. It was just a good environment. So what did they do? They bought the property from the nursing home, transferred that out, and then made the nursing homes have rent. And then they started to cut corners in medication, corners in staff, this and that. And so the quality became worse and worse. And so the quality that was being provided to the elderly became worse and worse. It is the same thing that happened to Red Lobster, okay? It wasn't the endless shrimp. By the way, that it came back out and I surely went and got me some. It wasn't the endless shrimp that did it. What did it was Red Lobster got bought out by private equity, and what did they do? They took the value out of the brand and then forced the brand to have to maintain these higher costs, okay? Making places that own the land, now they have to have rent on it, or making higher and higher fees for this and that, making higher and higher fees for food, even though the food quality is going down, by making monopolies of food, okay? All of that stuff is happening. That's why it's so hard for people to get into being able to do culinary things or being able to do hospitality. It's so expensive. You go to them food trucks and you're like, why are these food trucks so expensive? It's expensive because there's a monopoly on where the food is coming from. Peep this. Right now, they're trying to buy out Restaurant Depot. I think it's Cisco is trying to buy out Restaurant Depot. Why is that important? Restaurant Depot was one of those few places that a local restaurant could go to, not pay for a membership, because all you needed was to show that you had a business. It was wholesale warehouse prices, and they're going to buy them out. And that was their top competitor. That's why when you go to your Chili's and your Applebee's, you're eating the same mozzarella sticks, you're eating the same chicken sliders, okay? So all of that is happening. So what you end up doing is take a step back out of that. You do not have to use your money to uphold all this stuff. It's the same thing with the apartment buildings as well. Vacant apartment buildings sitting. Why? They're sitting and they're not even trying to be filled because those different companies can go and get loans out for the value of the apartment buildings. That's why that rent keeps on going up and they don't care if it's filled or not. They're trying to do all of that stuff, but you know what you do? You think smarter and not harder. You stop spending your money on unnecessary things. They convince you got all these problems. I promise you don't. You get really good with your health, because if you get really good with your health, and it's very simple, just eat what is healthy for you. Don't overconsume. Don't listen to people who tell you this is the right way of no, you know what's right for you. Do moderate exercise if that is reasonable for you, and start where you can. There's tons of stuff free online for you to follow. It does work. It will help you get there. Just diet and exercise, which people have been saying for a long time. Oh, what does that mean? It can be overwhelming if you don't know where you're starting, but that can help with your health. That helps with insurance prices, being in the medical community. That's number one. So you get rid of that. Stop trying to keep up with other people. Okay? Everybody is broke. Everybody is struggling. The money is not moneying the way it was. So with that being said, go spend time doing things you love. Specifically free 99. I do free 99 things all the time, okay? I live in the DC area. I go to the museums all the time. Beautiful museums. They be having free stuff all the time. I sure do. Okay. Do those kinds of things. Bring that into your life. Okay. All of these things are possible. You can push past it. Dag, like, I hope everybody's safe. All I'm hearing is sirens. That's a wake up call, okay? That you got to change things, okay? But yes, so do that. And the medical is really expensive. Figure out housing, okay? If you got a couple up or you got a triple up, okay? All you got to do is figure out who are the people that you're okay living around. And if y'all could couple up, triple up, quadruple up, and be cool, that's fine. Also, you can still enjoy yourself. You can still go on trips. You can still have vacations. Just budget. You can still, eat well. You just got to budget. You sit down and you think, what do you want from the store? You budget out and you budget those meals and go to multiple stores if you need to go to multiple stores. Okay? That's how you push back on things. And one place I don't be going to is Walmart, because I don't know. Last time I went in there, it was expensive. It's got every SKU known to man, but it was expensive. I was like, why is it so expensive in here? And they treat you like a criminal when you're in there. I'm like, I'm not going into a self-checkout at the Walmart. It's too much. It just was too much. I said, I can't. And I don't go to Target. So I'm saying all that to say, you have got options. Starve them out. It's on an individual level. They want to starve you, starve them out. Because they thought that everyone was just going to come together and give more of their income and just live in a certain kind of housing situation. Figure it out. Be creative. I'm not saying it's right. I'm saying be creative. They thought that they could continue to raise the price on groceries and stuff like that. Take yourself to a Lidl's or a Aldi's. Start going to the local places too. I've been getting my vegetables from the international grocery stores. They got better vegetables, okay? They got the vegetables that I want. I shop in multiple places, okay? Do what you got to. Think smarter, not harder. Don't be spending all your money on these things that make you feel farther from it, because it's not fair. It's not right. But you can survive this. I'm not saying that you're in a tough situation, but if you just feel like things aren't the same, guess what? And they can't stand when you have joy. There's so much things that used to be free. Remember, you could just go kick it in the park with your crew, your friends, your family, your co-workers. Y'all, you bring a little potluck, not everybody's supposed to cook it, and it was chill. Now everybody has to work so much. Okay, you want everyone to work so much? Guess what? You don't get the money anymore. The money's going to stop moving, because who cares about the economy if the economy is not helping anybody? Who cares about keeping record profits in the U.S. if it's not helping the workers? Keep the money, spend it. And also, I'm going to leave you with this. Support your farmers markets, okay? You may not be able to afford to get everything from there, but support it. I'd rather spend $20 giving it to somebody else for something that I may want, or a splurge, and know that it's not being siphoned off somewhere else, and keep things going like that, okay? And oftentimes you get a better quality product. I went and got a bagel from the farmer's market. I said, okay, people standing in the line, the bagel, it had 2 tops. It was an everything bagel. There was no bottom, 2 tops. I said, I love that. I don't know what happens to the bottoms of it, but I love that. You can't go to Dunkin' Donut and get that. Anyway, I'm going to leave y'all where I leave y'all. I did not think I was going to talk this much, but when y'all let me get to talking about the systemic and just making it make sense for y'all, I really appreciate that. I'm going to continue to come back, and thank you for everyone who continues to show up every week. I hope that it has helped you in your life and is helping you in your life. And I just like to share what's coming across. I don't always on Reiki Healing Hope get the opportunity to really just break it down. Also because people want to, calm and release. But here I'm just like, y'all need to know what's going on, and y'all need to know that y'all have power, and that y'all have decisions, and y'all have agency, and y'all have autonomy, and y'all could do a bunch of stuff. Okay. And look, inconvenience is the price of survival. And I'm not saying you need to be in survival mode. I'm just saying that sometimes you got to survive in life, and you don't have to feel shame or fear or regret about it. It's happening to everybody. Do not feel embarrassed about it, okay? And find your joy. Okay, you want to make this out of reach, but guess what? I'm going to have fun over here. I got fun in the house. I got fun here. I got fun there. And surround yourself. This is the most important part. Surround yourself with other people who are on that vibe too. Who are like, you know what? I'm not about to waste my money doing this, this, and that. We gonna pull our money together and we gonna make $20 stretch. We gonna have a good time with $20. Okay, went and got a Chipotle bowl. The Chipotle bowl was like $15, $16. Remember the CEO was saying, oh, everybody's making $100,000 or more and da 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 da. Give me that. I'll take you to the grocery store. I'll give you 3 to 4 Chipotle bowls because I had to adjust for how, expensive things are. I could give you that. I know how to make. I can cook. I can cook all that stuff. Okay, it's just chicken thighs. They just put in chicken thighs. The rice just has cilantro and lime in it, and then you have a selection of toppings, which you can easily prepare. The corn is just corn that they burn a little bit with some seasoning. The salsa, tomatoes, onions. These are not expensive things to have. I could do that for you. I don't know what's in the salad dressing. I do like the salad dressing, but I could do that for you. Okay. So I'm saying all that to say, get you around some people who have that growth mindset of like, they want their life or they see their life past this, even if they're doing well. Because I think I'm doing pretty well in life. But I think like this because I'm like, you know what? I know I'm going to get to better. And I'm not going to let somebody trick me out of my position. So I'm an easy person to be like financially, very easy to be around. I can do things for free. I don't be judging nobody. I'm like, if somebody tells me like, hey, I want to do something for free, I'm like, I love it. Okay, let's do it. I go to places with Groupons. I go to places with a coupon. I had a coupon at the grocery store. It was like a grocery store coupon. I said, yep. Mm-hmm. So find you people in environments, and sometimes it's yourself, okay, that really support that and really have that same kind of energy. And just because every bit of money that you're not spending, you could build it towards something. Dreams, goals, other financial things that you want, Work smarter, not harder, okay? Well, I'm going to leave you there. I talked the talk. I'll see you next week.